In February 2021, two men walked across the dry, cracked floor of a lagoon in England's smallest county, expecting nothing more than a routine afternoon of maintenance work. What they found beneath their boots would turn out to be the largest and most complete skeleton of its kind ever discovered on British soil, a creature that had been lying undisturbed in the mud for 180 million years. Nobody sent them there to look for it. Nobody knew it was there at all. And what happened after they found it would become almost as dramatic as the discovery itself. A story of ancient monsters, broken budgets, and a county fighting to keep hold of a national treasure that technically isn't even theirs. The place was Rutland Water, a reservoir in the East Midlands built in the 1970s to supply water to the surrounding region. It sits in Rutland, a county so small that it has become something of a national joke in England, the kind of place people forget exists on a map until they need to prove a point about how tiny it is. But Rutland has a motto, multum in parvo, which translates as much in little, and in February 2021, that motto was about to be proven true in a way nobody could have predicted. As part of ongoing maintenance, a lagoon island within the reserve was drained so that reserve's officers could re-landscape it. Draining a lagoon for repairs is about as unglamorous a task as conservation work gets. It is mud, machinery, and clipboards. It is not, under any normal circumstances, where you expect to stumble across one of the greatest fossil discoveries in the history of British paleontology. Joe Davis, the conservation team leader for the Leicestershire and Rutland Wildlife Trust, was crossing that drained lagoon with his colleague Paul Trevor when something caught his eye jutting out of the exposed clay. At first, it looked almost mundane, like a scatter of old clay pipes poking up through the mud. But Davis had seen enough real fossils in his career, having previously recovered whale and dolphin skeletons while working in the Hebrides, to know that these did not look like pipes at all. They looked organic. He and Trevor followed the shapes further along the mud and found what unmistakably looked like a spine, and then, a little further still, something that could only be a jawbone. Davis would later describe the moment plainly. They could not quite believe it. Two men who had gone out to check on landscaping work were now standing over what appeared to be the remains of an enormous prehistoric animal exposed by nothing more than routine water management. What they had stumbled onto, once specialists were called in and the site properly assessed, was almost too good to be true. This was not a scattering of bone fragments or a partial skeleton eroded by time. This was a nearly complete ichthyosaur, a giant marine reptile that had patrolled the seas of the early Jurassic period roughly 180 million years ago, back when what is now the flat, green landscape of the English Midlands lay beneath a warm, shallow ocean. Ichthyosaurs are sometimes called sea dragons for good reason. They had the sleek, torpedo-shaped bodies of dolphins, powerful tail fins, and long, narrow jaws lined with teeth built for catching fish and squid. But despite their resemblance to modern marine mammals, they were reptiles through and through, air-breathing creatures whose ancestors, much like those of whales millions of years later, had originally lived on land before evolving back into the water. They surfaced to breathe just as dolphins and whales do today, which means that somewhere in that ancient Jurassic Sea, this particular animal would have broken the surface of the water countless times across its life, gulping air under a sky that no human would exist to see for another 179 million years. This is where the story stops being simply remarkable and starts becoming record-breaking. Once the exploratory dig began, paleontologists realized this was not just a large ichthyosaur. It was, and remains to this day, the biggest ichthyosaur skeleton ever found in the United Kingdom. Stretching just over 10 meters in length, with a skull alone measuring around 2 meters and weighing close to a ton once encased in its surrounding clay and plaster jacket, this was an animal on a scale that dwarfed anything previously recovered in British fossil history. To put that into perspective, the specimen is roughly twice the size of the largest ichthyosaur previously on public display in the country, which sits in York. And here is the detail that turns astonishment into something closer to disbelief. This was not merely the largest ichthyosaur found in Britain. According to researchers at the Natural History Museum in London, it is probably one of the largest fossil marine reptiles ever found anywhere in the world, rivaling, and in some respects exceeding even, the great dinosaur discoveries that usually dominate headlines about prehistoric giants. Read that again, because it matters. This was not a dinosaur dig. Britain has produced dinosaur fossils before, plenty of them, and the public has grown almost used to hearing about new specimens turning up in quarries and cliffs. But a marine reptile of this scale, this complete, discovered by accident during a maintenance drainage operation at a modern reservoir, is something else entirely. Britain has actually been the birthplace of ichthyosaur science for over 2 centuries, ever since a young fossil hunter named Mary Anning found the first scientifically recognized ichthyosaur specimen along the Jurassic coast in the early 1800s, working alongside her brother Joseph. Every ichthyosaur discovery in Britain since then has, in some sense, stood on Anning's shoulders. And yet, in more than 200 years of searching those coastlines, nobody had ever found anything in the UK that came close to matching what surfaced from a drained lagoon in landlocked Rutland. Once the scale of the find became clear, this stopped being a quiet local matter and became a full-scale operation. A formal excavation was organized for August and September of 2021, bringing together some of the leading names in British paleontology. The dig was led by Dr. Dean Lomax, a world-renowned ichthyosaur specialist and visiting scientist at the University of Manchester, who has personally named 5 new ichthyosaur species over the course of his career, alongside Nigel Larkin, a specialist paleontological conservator, and Dr. Mark Evans, a marine reptile expert who had spent more than 20 years studying the Jurassic fossil reptiles of Rutland and Leicestershire without ever imagining a find of this magnitude, was sitting beneath the reservoir the whole time. They were joined by Dr. Emma Nichols of the Horniman Museum, additional specialists from Peterborough Museum and the Open University, and a team of volunteers experienced in excavating fossilized marine reptiles. This was not a handful of enthusiasts with brushes and buckets. This was an assembled task force, mobilized because everyone involved understood they were dealing with something that might only come along once in a career, if ever. The physical process of extracting the skeleton reveals just how enormous and fragile this discovery truly was. Working meticulously through the dense Jurassic clay, the team uncovered a skeleton that was almost entirely intact from skull to the tip of the tail, an almost unheard of level of completeness for a specimen of this age and size. But a fossil that large and that old cannot simply be lifted out of the ground. Every bone had to be carefully recorded, supported, and protected before it could be moved, because after 180 million years underground, the skeleton was, despite its size, remarkably delicate. The team encased sections of the animal in wooden splints and plaster of Paris jackets, the same basic technique museums have used for over a century to stabilize large fossils during transport, before lifting the pieces out in stages. The block containing the 2-meter skull alone, once you factor in the surrounding clay and its protective plaster casing, weighed just under a ton. The section containing the body added roughly another 1.5 tons on top of that. In total, the complete specimen, clay, plaster, and all, exceeded 2 tons in weight. Nigel Larkin, who oversaw much of this delicate operation, later said it plainly: "It is not often you are responsible for safely lifting a fossil of enormous importance while it weighs that much. And it is a responsibility he described as both daunting and something he genuinely relished as a professional challenge." Now think about what this discovery actually means scientifically, because the story does not end with the physical act of digging it out of the mud. Researchers have tentatively identified the Rutland specimen as belonging to the species Temnodontosaurus trigonodon, a large-bodied group of ichthyosaurs that could grow up to 12 meters in length, and were previously known mainly from fossil finds in Germany and France. If that identification is confirmed once the fossil is fully cleaned, prepared, and studied in detail, it will mark the first confirmed record of this particular species ever found in Britain, effectively redrawing the known geographic range of this ancient predator across the prehistoric seas of Europe. That is not a small footnote. That is the kind of finding that reshapes scientific understanding of how these animals moved, hunted, and spread across ancient oceans that no longer exist in any recognizable form today. And here is where the science gets even more precise, because for a long time after the excavation, nobody could say with certainty exactly how old this animal was, beyond the general estimate of roughly 180 million years. That changed when researchers at the University of Birmingham conducted detailed microfossil analysis of the clay matrix surrounding the skeleton. By examining the tiny fossilized remains of ancient marine organisms embedded in the same layer of rock, scientists were able to narrow the specimen's age down to a remarkably tight window, somewhere between 181.5 and 182.5 million years old. This places the Rutland ichthyosaur firmly within the torsion stage of the early Jurassic period, a time when a warm, shallow sea stretched across what is now the flat farmland of central England, teeming with ancient marine life that has left its fingerprints scattered throughout Rutland's geology. This was not the first ichthyosaur ever found at this reservoir either. 2 smaller, incomplete specimens had been discovered decades earlier during the initial construction of Rutland Water back in the 1970s, a detail that, in hindsight, should perhaps have told everyone that this particular patch of English countryside was once a genuine hotspot of prehistoric marine life, an ecologically significant stretch of ancient seafloor that scientists are still working to fully understand. But here is where the story shifts from pure scientific triumph into something far messier and, in its own way, far more human. Once a fossil of this magnitude is out of the ground, a new and far less glamorous battle begins, one that has nothing to do with paleontology and everything to do with money, ownership, and bureaucracy. The Rutland sea dragon, despite being found within the nature reserve, is legally owned by Anglian Water, the utility company that operates the reservoir, not by the county council, not by the museum, and not by the wildlife trust that manages the site day to day. That single fact would end up shaping years of frustrating negotiation. In order for any formal research paper on the specimen to ever be published, the fossil first had to be brought into an accredited museum collection, which meant Rutland County Council needed to strike a legal agreement with Anglian Water to formally acquire the sea dragon before a single further step could be taken. Those legal discussions dragged on for a long time, slowing everything down while the enormous priceless skeleton sat wrapped in plaster of Paris, essentially in storage, waiting for paperwork to catch up with prehistory. Meanwhile, public excitement about the discovery only grew. The story made international headlines when it was formally announced in January 2022, and the excavation was featured on BBC Two's Digging for Britain, introducing the sea dragon to millions of viewers who had no idea their television screens would ever show them the largest fossil reptile skeleton in British history being lifted out of a reservoir in Rutland. As part of a wider levelling up funding package, Rutland County Council secured £2 million from the UK government, specifically earmarked toward a digital visitor experience showcasing the ichthyosaur, alongside another significant local discovery, a 4th century Roman mosaic unearthed at nearby Ketton. Council leaders spoke with genuine excitement about what this could mean for the county, describing the sea dragon as a potential draw of national, if not international, significance, and pointing out that tourism already contributes an estimated £175 million annually to Rutland's economy, with roughly 1.5 million visitors passing through the county every year. One councillor went so far as to call the fossil a potential life raft for the local tourism industry, a phrase that captures just how much hope had been quietly loaded onto the bones of a creature that died 180 million years before anyone had heard of tourism, budgets, or leveling up funds. But here's where everything changes, because turning a fossil this large into a permanent public exhibit was never going to be simple or cheap. Conservation alone, meaning the painstaking, specialist process of removing the plaster field jackets and properly preparing and stabilizing every bone, was estimated to cost in the region of £800,000. Sources and officials openly admitted that there are only a handful of people in the entire country qualified to carry out that kind of work. On top of that came the cost of actually redesigning and extending Rutland County Museum in Oakham to physically house a 10-meter skeleton, plus the ongoing expense of digitization, insurance, and long-term care for what officials themselves described as a piece of national heritage. By the council's own estimates, the total commitment stood at roughly £6 million of council money, combined with £1.8 million of government funding already set aside, a substantial sum for one of the smallest local authorities in England to shoulder. And then, in the spring of 2026, the story took the sharpest turn yet. Rutland County Council announced that soaring energy prices, rising building material costs, and broader economic pressures meant the original plan to bring the sea dragon home to Oakham was now projected to run at least £1 million over budget, on top of everything already committed. Councillor Andrew Johnson, responsible for governance and resources at the council, pointed directly to the disruption rippling through the world economy as a major factor squeezing the project. The council confirmed that plans to physically display the fossil at Rutland County Museum were being shelved, at least for the time being, with officials admitting they were not yet sure what would happen to the sea dragon next. Think about what that actually means. A creature that survived 180 million years underground, that was found purely by chance during a routine drainage operation, that scientists around the world hailed as one of the most important fossil discoveries in British history, was now at risk of never coming home, simply because of inflation and construction costs in the year 2026. The public did not take that news quietly. Within 2 weeks of the council's announcement, a local campaign group called the Friends of Rutland County Museum in Oakham Castle launched a petition demanding the fossil be displayed locally as originally promised, and it gathered more than 2,000 signatures in a county with a total population of under 40,000 people, more than enough to force the matter to be debated at a full council meeting. The group, which has quietly donated more than £250,000 to the museum and castle since it was founded in 1970, argued that their own fundraising target of £50,000 toward the museum expansion had not been properly factored into the council's financial calculations. In response, the council acknowledged the strength of public feeling but stood by its position, stating plainly that the economic outlook had worsened considerably since the original budget was set, and that committing further public funds without absolute certainty of success would expose the council to long-term financial risk it could not responsibly take on. The council insisted it still wanted to see the sea dragon displayed in Rutland eventually, and that it would continue pursuing the digital visitor experience and museum improvements already funded through the Leveling Up grant. But the timeline, and even the final outcome, remain genuinely uncertain. So where does that leave the largest fossil reptile ever discovered in Britain right now, in the summer of 2026? The The bones themselves are safe. They are not at risk of damage or loss, sitting under expert care exactly as they have since they were lifted from that Rutland clay in 2021, still encased in the same plaster of Paris jackets that protected them on the journey out of the ground. Legal talks over formal ownership between Anglian Water and the County Council have continued, described by council leadership as being close to finalized. But close has been the word used for a long time now. Digitization work, the process of scanning and recording every bone in painstaking detail so the specimen's data can be preserved and studied regardless of what happens physically, has been positioned as the first achievable step. Something that can begin as soon as legal ownership is settled and public funding can finally be committed without excessive risk. A three-dimensional model of parts of the skeleton has already been made available for public viewing, offering a small preview of what a full public exhibit might one day look like, even as the actual bones remain in storage rather than on display. And this is perhaps the most striking part of the entire story. A creature that lived and died 180 million years ago, long before the continents had even settled into their current shapes, long before mammals rose to dominance, long before anything resembling a human being ever existed to look up at a sky, has become entangled in one of the most distinctly modern of all human problems, a funding shortfall. The sea dragon survived mass extinction events, geological upheaval, and the slow, crushing weight of nearly 200 million years of sediment, only to find its return to public view stalled by rising energy prices and construction costs in 21st century England. There is something almost darkly poetic about that. An animal that outlasted the literal death of the dinosaurs, now waiting patiently in storage for a county council budget meeting to go its way. What happens next remains genuinely unresolved. Will the legal agreement between Anglian Water and Rutland County Council finally be signed, clearing the way for conservation work to begin on schedule? Will public pressure, fueled by a passionate local campaign and international scientific interest, be enough to unlock the additional funding needed to bring the sea dragon home to Oakham as originally promised? Or will England's greatest fossil discovery of the last century end up somewhere else entirely, perhaps loaned to a larger national institution better equipped to fund its long-term conservation and display, a scenario that would be a bitter outcome for the county where it was actually found? Nobody currently knows the answer, not the council, not the scientists, and certainly not the two men who happened to be crossing a drained lagoon on an ordinary February afternoon in 2021, never expecting that a routine maintenance check would lead them face to face with a monster that had been waiting quietly in the mud for 180 million years. The bones are out of the ground. Whether the public ever gets to stand in front of them is still, remarkably, an open question.